Well, hello and welcome to another episode of More Perfect Marketing. It's David Baer here, and today we're going to be talking about websites, web design, and how that overlaps with marketing, marketing departments, and the entire world of marketing services. Now, I used to design websites long ago, and I was fine at it. I still do a site here and there, but I've never built a business around it. And so I'm glad to say I'm not the expert in this conversation. Instead, we have Matt Levenhagen, who is joining me from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Hey, Matt, how are you?
I'm doing great. How you doing, David?
I'm okay, thank you.
Good.
I've spent a little bit of time on your current website and looking at some of the work that you do with partners as sort of an extension of their businesses. Um, but you didn't start there. You started in the web design world back in like the early 2000s, and I wonder if you might sort of take us through a little bit of that history because a lot of things have changed since then.
Yeah, it's been a ride. Yeah, I go so back in 2003 I built my first website. I was actually in the insurance business at the time and built an insurance website for my agency.
Hmm.
And shortly thereafter, I actually discovered affiliate marketing because one of a plan, it was a dental plan I was going to promote or offer my clients. Um, it
You
was
have to be
dental
careful
plans.
with that nomenclature, right? You know, we as marketers we say promote, but in the genteel world of insurance, it's extend an offer to the client.
Extended
Yes.
offer to the client. Okay. Yes, I'm a little rusty. It's been a while since I've been in the insurance industry. No, it's yeah. Well, it's funny because up until that point, everything was paper, right? Maybe a little bit of computer stuff, but it was mostly paper. And I was just given this affiliate link. I didn't know it was an affiliate link. It was just a link to me, and put this on your website, and if somebody buys through that link, you'll get a commission. I had no idea what that meant. No clue anything about the web. And sure enough, a few months later, I got a $40 commission, and that you know,
Mhm.
perked my attention. And so I thought, what is this link? And I learned it was an affiliate link, and then I went down the rabbit hole of trying to figure out how to make money online. And so for the next few years, I was trying everything under the sun, from affiliate marketing, doing SEO, pay per click. Landed on pay per click. I did pay per click advertising and promoting affiliate offers for years. I even had my own methods and digital products and all that stuff. But in those early days, it was kind of wild, wild west. You could get away with a lot.
Yeah.
It was uh, we would send traffic direct to the merchant. We would do, but you could also get really, really cheap clicks. For a few cents, you could drive traffic and make a pretty good profit on that. So that's changed. That's one of the things that's changed. Obviously, it's become much more expensive to do
Yeah.
advertising. It's much more competitive. Also, from a merchant's perspective, uh, between the merchants and Google, it became more and more difficult to do business or to be an affiliate marketer over those years. From probably
When you say
around,
merchants, you're talking about the merchant services businesses, or
yeah. Well, I kind of lump everything into
Mhm.
that in this conversation. It's like your e-commerce stores,
Mhm.
but it could be anyone selling digital products as well or
Yeah.
whatever. I just call them all merchants. But the more so on the probably the physical product side of things, they started to get wise to our methods. And who are these affiliate marketers driving direct traffic and grabbing our keywords, and we have to pay them commissions.
Yes.
Um, so that got more difficult. They started layering rules onto things. Google started layering rules onto things. You have to use a landing page. Oh, you have to have navigation on that landing page. You can't just have affiliate links. And then they introduced quality score, and then they it became they became wiser to the types of programs we were promoting, and we had to be very careful over time. So that changed a lot in those years, and to a point where I kind of cashed out around 2012.
Mm.
I was done battling Google, And that's when I pivoted to one of the things I realized over the years is I enjoyed building websites and but mostly for myself, building niche sites and all that. And sometimes more so than the marketing itself. I like tinkering with websites. I'd spend all afternoon just trying to get a sales page just right or whatever. And so I'm like, well, what if I do that for other people? I enjoy doing it. So I freelanced for a few years. I worked for a company for like 4 years as a web developer. And then I started my agency January of 2019. And over 5 years later, I'm still here doing this. But yeah, lots, from those early days, the biggest thing is become more competitive. Um, and the search engines have become more savvy and more complex, especially now with AI and everything. That's changing a lot. Video became a thing. We didn't even have video when I first started out. So how you promote yourself in general over the years has changed a lot.
You
So
you you came to this through the lens of traffic, as you were talking about, and promoting sales of products, and so it was a lot of this through the lens of marketing, through the lens of selling stuff. And if you think back to the period of time that you got started developing things online, whether it was for yourself or other people, the majority of websites out there were I'm going to use the word bland, static, brochure type sites. But as somebody who's become well versed in marketing, and I want to talk briefly about the company you were, an in-house developer with, because that's one of the major marketing training companies here in the U.S. that you were working with. You probably have been incredibly well informed about how marketing and marketing principles go hand in hand with effective web development and a website structure.
yeah, I mean, so in the early days, it was all about direct marketing and driving traffic to offers, right? That was kind of our thing. Um, so sales pages. Started to dabble with like funnels. You're familiar with funnels.
Mhm.
Um, and squeeze pages. Those things started to become a thing in the 2000s and kind of translated from the offline world to the online. But it was always about the copy and the source of traffic, how targeted traffic and the importance of that. There was a lot of JVs, joint ventures going on, driving traffic from people's lists, building lists. Um, but all that was about building pages that converted. It was literally that simple. Doing as little else as possible, just sending somebody to a sales page, and that sales page was designed in a certain way. You had your header or your headline, and then you had your testimonials. You had, just how you structured it from a copywriting perspective was very specific, and there was things you did to test that or to convert the most sales as possible. Different ways to drive traffic to those pages. But as the transition, going to other types of businesses, and to today, especially even from a Google perspective and what they look for in terms of quality, if you want to actually promote it with SEO and stuff, that's um, kind of a different game. You have to have a more legit site. It's more about content. It's more about going outside of that sales page and that call to action and trying to get somebody to buy something. You have to be more than that in the
Yeah.
eyes of Google. Um, but there's still, it really hasn't changed if you really want to convert business. That's still about the call to action and the sales pages and the funnels and that stuff still happens, but it's not in the context necessarily uh, traffic or organic traffic or paid traffic as much, paid traffic more, but it's like just a different way to drive traffic from different sources.
Yeah.
People still are building lists. People still are doing joint ventures and promoting affiliate programs and all that stuff. Um, so that hasn't changed. It just depends on how you want to market and how you want to show up.
And I guess you brought up a really good point here that I think is key to a successfully structured site, which is understanding the context in which somebody arrives at that site. How did they find out about that site and what was the means by which they got there in the first place. You juxtaposed organic search traffic to pay per click to other types of sort of the precursors to them arriving on that page, and that's going to inform in part what that page needs to look like and what it needs to accomplish.
Yeah, so going back to the days when I used to teach pay-per-click, and it was all about keywords. One of the things I don't know if I was the first to coin it, but I always call them buying keywords, buy keywords. Like there's certain keyword phrases that, but you kind of look at it like every keyword has a personality, right? And what is the person, or maybe that's the person behind it, that's the
Mhm.
personality, who's typing that in, and what is their intention, right? Are they punching that in because they're ready to buy something, or are they punching that in because they're kicking the tires or doing research, or they just are looking for something free?
So can you
um
give an example? We've talked about buyer intent words before in search. What might an example of a buyer keyword versus a I'm just looking for general information keyword look like?
Good question. Well, first of all, brand keywords, like if somebody's searching for my agency unified web design, they've probably found me somewhere or know about me already. And if they're looking on my brand, they're probably looking for those specific services, or they're trying to learn more about my brand. And um, those would tend to, when we used to be able to do that and purchase brand keywords for affiliate offers, those would convert obviously the highest. Um, one of the, what was the name of buycostumes.com, I think. There was literally a site called Buy Costumes. They're probably still around. I don't
Mhm.
know. But I remember I actually got in a little trouble with them because I was bidding on their keywords and making thousands of dollars. And around the Halloween season, and of course I got their attention a little bit, and they're like, "You can't do that." And I'm like, "I'm sorry." I talked myself back into being able to promote them, but that was very specific, right? That's someone wants to buy costumes. They got the perfect domain. They got the perfect site, to draw in that traffic. That was like they aligned themselves perfectly. And I kind of tapped into that for a minute.
Well,
But so
I
that's an
don't know if
example of,
this is either good or bad news, but they are no longer online, and as of it looks like um 2010, or I don't know, there's a Wikipedia article that I'm trying to glance through quickly to see when they went out of business, but they no longer exist. So,
is that right?
yeah, there you go.
Wow. Well, how about that? It's always fascinating to see them come and go. There was another business too. I was thinking, I was talking to somebody recently about that. I'm like, I wonder if they're still around. And they sure enough, they were still around. Oh, ClickBank.
Yeah,
ClickBank's like a big
of
like
course they are. Yes. Yeah.
like their site has changed dramatically
Mhm.
since I used to promote them. But yeah, so that's an example of obviously, though, very, very specific. Like if somebody was like buy web design and they came to my website, they're ready to buy web or buy maintenance or so. But it doesn't even have to have buy in it. It could be just somebody's looking for a specific type of product. They're whether it's a brand name or not, it could be just the more specific it is, the more that's probably going to convert. But if you have somebody that's just looking, well, obviously, if you add free to a phrase,
Mhm.
you're probably going to have a hard time converting that person, or there's phrases that, you know, um, if um, let's say you're selling which I do, a pop-up plugin, right?
Mhm.
That's going you for WordPress, and you can install it and it can create pop-ups for you, whatever. If somebody is wanting to buy a pop-up plugin, they might enter premium pop-up plugins, or buy a pop-up plugin, or um, best pop-up plugins, and one of those are going to convert. It's hard to predict, but if they're like, free pop-up plugin,
Yep.
or how do I create a pop-up? They're looking for just, I just want to know how to create a pop-up. I don't necessarily want to buy anything today. I don't, they don't already have in their head they they have money they want to spend.
Mhm.
Um, so it's if somebody's asking questions or they're just trying to get more information about something or at different parts of that buying um, path. Um, yeah, so that's really it.
So, and then in terms of a site that is really all about the organic traffic, right? You have all of this search engine optimization, and look, we're recording this in the first half of 2024. We're going to see a major shift in SEO. We don't know exactly what that's gonna to be, but with all of the AI stuff that's happening and the way that Google is displaying things and results shifting so dramatically, that may or may not, look the same a year or 5 years from now. How are you thinking about what a website needs to do or be structured when we're dealing with the type of person who is happening on the site organically?
Yeah, so and I don't to be upfront here, I don't today focus much at all on like not most of my business does not come from search.
Hmm.
Um and kind of purposely for different reasons I'm like I could do paid traffic, I could do paid traffic. But I made the conscious decision of my agency that number one, I was going to focus on organic, but more social marketing, social media, and networking is my thing. So that combination,
Yeah.
I do content as well, and um, but even outside of that, so I do have an SEO person in house that kind of helps. She helps me with optimizing things, and we're going to do some link building. So we are doing a little bit of that. Um, I'm I think no matter, especially if somebody's like already depends a lot on search traffic, and
Hmm.
we have clients that do that. 90% of their business is organic search, and they got a big business. Um, you we don't know what's going to happen in the coming years, especially with AI and the new how the engines will change and if they change how the search results look, how people search, if they're just going to use a chat bot to find things.
Yeah.
Um, but I think for me, I've always taken the position of I'm not going to put all my eggs in that basket, you know, diversifying and finding number one, being just aware of that and keeping an eye on things, and you'll be able to see a trend. If you're getting traffic, you'll be able to see traffic going down for some reason. I so that's one thing, but then just finding other ways to shore things up, um, what is big, big now is social media, creating video, creating content. um, I know that building a personal brand is really really important next to a business. I believe in that, as do a lot of people, because I think as time goes on, especially with content, with AI generating content and all this stuff, you got to set yourself apart somehow.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. I think my advice is, keep the eye on the ball and keep an eye on those trends and see what's happening. Right. It's not going to go away overnight, or might feel like it does.
Mhm.
You could say a year from now, it kind of went away overnight,
Yeah.
but maybe not next week. Um, but yeah, I just think and there's still paid traffic. There's still, I think that will be uh less affected maybe in the immediate term. Um,
Well,
yeah,
so
just
I
just
guess I want to
diversified.
understand. I get the search and the organic traffic as a result of SEO. What is the difference in terms of what your decisions you're making with the site itself when it comes to somebody either coming from an ad or in the case you brought up social media, which is a huge source of traffic for sites. Um, Yeah, in fact, I was looking, it was a few years ago now, but at, sites where there's social sites where there's buyer intent more than any other site, and I imagine that this is probably still a higher ranking social platform than others, but Pinterest, right, where people are looking at products or looking at destinations, and so they're in buyer mode. Like, what do you as somebody who's involved in structuring the site that they're then going to go to as a result of seeing something in a social post somewhere, what are you paying attention to in the structure and design of the site?
Yeah, so you have to, so assuming that you, whether it's Pinterest, whether whatever the source of that traffic is, that have found a way to target your market and find the buyers and get their attention. Um, on the site itself, it boils down to uh, just designing it for conversions. And whether it's most businesses, like I work with a lot of manufacturers or have clients in the beauty industry, you don't have your typical old direct marketing sales pages with, like just one page. It's an experience. Um, but there's a whole range of things you think about from a conversions perspective. Um, Depending on it's important where you're driving that traffic. So you have to think about, like, what is that traffic source? What are they looking for? What is going to help convert them into either a lead or a sale? Um, that may not necessarily be driving them directly to your homepage. It depends on what you're selling. If you're selling one product, that's a little easier. But if you have a whole catalog of thousands of products,
Mhm.
where do you send them? Um, so let's say you create a graphic or you create something on Pinterest or another social media site that's specific to a category of products or something, as zeroed in, as dialed in as possible to what they just saw and where they land, it should make sense. I think you really drill down to that. It just makes sense. I
Mhm.
landed there. There's a headline that matches what I was just looking at. So now I'm going to the next step. What that headline captures my attention. There's a call to action. The higher up, the better. It depends on, again, you have to look at analytics as a whole nother conversation, but how far they're going down on the page and stuff. But it's different for every kind of industry and what you're selling. You have to um, play around with it a little bit, but but the elements are kind of similar for everything. It's really, when somebody lands on your web page, they should feel like they're where they need to be. It should look like, if you're selling pet supplies for dogs, you shouldn't land on a page that has cats.
Mhm.
Right? So uh, it has to feel right, and you have to capture their attention very, very quickly because people have short attention spans online. Um, and you have some, either a lead magnet or just the next step, something that really captures their attention about what sets your product apart. Why should I read further? Um, I work with copywriters. I do still uh, build sales pages. One of our clients is, that's all they do. They're very much in that world where we help them build funnels and all that stuff. And I work with their copywriter, and he's very specific. It's like, okay, we now got their attention here, but now we want to, how do we get them down to the next section? We got to keep drawing their eye and make it interesting, and kind of build a story until they get to the box that says buy now. Um, but you have to be intentional with that stuff. You have to, every page should kind of have a goal. Like, what is your business goal, first of all? Like the big goal, like, what do I want them to do? I want them to buy this product or get in this funnel or watch this video, um, and join my list, whatever it is. Know what that is, and then design the page so when they land there, they they can quickly understand what it is, and you can give them a good reason to click that button to subscribe, or go to the next, or learn more about that product. Maybe it's watching a video to learn more about that product. So that's it. When we design a website, we it's going to be a nice looking website, but at the end of the day, it's not about how pretty it is. It's about, because you sometimes you go to sites that like, well, this is over designed. They don't
Mhm.
need to have all these animations. They don't need to have. It looks sexy. It looks really nice. I'm sure the designer's really proud of it, and but the conversion expert looks at it and like, what's my next action?
Yeah.
What do you want me to do? And that's what you put yourself in their shoes. Like, what's my okay? I'd landed here. Now, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to learn next? Or what's my next step to, you know, take me to your cart,
Sure.
whatever.
And I think in there, you buried something that I think is important to circle back on, which is also understanding the who is the person who's there and how do they function in terms of what they need to see. The manufacturing industry customer is going to interact and have a very different set of criteria and want a different environment and a different, be spoken to differently than the beauty product, consumer. And so being able to really speak to them, like I was thinking as you were describing those two, and then talking about the call to action landing on the right place on the page, I was thinking, oh, well, some of them, are gonna likely be on mobile versus on desktop. Like if you're a business buyer in the manufacturing space, you're probably not looking at that stuff on your phone as much as you are on a computer, right? I don't know. I'm just guessing here, right?
Yeah, like I have a client that I send him. We design pages for him all the time. He's always updating his sites and he's building new products. And but I know when I send him a design, a desktop design, like he's going to look at it on mobile because he knows that most of his traffic is mobile.
Hmm.
Um, but but yes, so that experience you have to understand where your traffic is and build that experience around that as well. And the mobile experience might be different than desktop, and what's important and how things how you capture their attention. You have less space to capture their attention. But when you were mentioning like all the other thing, like when you land on a page and it sounds silly, like you have to feel like you're in the right place and you have to know your audience, like who's behind that, who is behind the screen that's looking at your website.
Yeah.
I'm actually working on a proposal today for a project, helping somebody with their e-commerce site with their client as a partner. Um, and we were talking about, I'm like, well, what about the design side of this? So I'm helping them actually on more back end and making sure they can import. They have a ton of products to import into this new store. And so whatever, where's this data going to show up? Blah blah, like the back end stuff. But then I said, so about the design, do you need help with the design as well? And she's like, yeah, um, we do. Um, they already have the rest of the site designed. I'm like, we don't need to do a lot. We're not going to be redesigned. We're just going to pick up the styles from the rest of the site, whatever. So it's not a big deal. We'll just design the cart or the product pages and all that, based on that. But she said was, you know, it just has to be simple. It's industrial.
Hmm.
It's they're in an industry, they're in manufacturing, or the type of products. She understands her audience, that they're not expecting something fancy. You look at a lot of manufacturing sites and we do stuff for, and it's very completely opposite from like the beauty sites that we have a client that's in that category, and it's much more feminine and designed, and
Hmm.
the everything is more is prettier. But in this one, it's industrial. It could be just hard lines. Doesn't have to be fancy. We're just going to show the product, give them the information. And so yeah, those things are really important. And whether you're driving, if that's traffic driving directly to that, or just somebody finds their way to your product page, um, the whole experience should feel right.
We're just about out of time, and I want to try to encapsulate quickly as much as we possibly can on the following topic, because as I said, your approach to this is informed through your experience doing all kinds of marketing and thinking as a marketer as you're designing sites and working through the process with your clients, but also with partners. And I'll add one other aspect of what informs the work that you're doing, which is that you surround yourself with a lot of other brilliant people, as a podcast host in your own right with the excellent podcast The Builders, where you get to continuously fill your mind with the brilliance of others. Can you talk a little bit about what you've structured in your business, Unified Web Design, and why it is that you're working to support others and work on such a sort of um, a range of projects for both in-house marketing teams as well as an extension of agencies, because I think you're lending to them a set of expertise and skills that is uncommon in the web design world.
Yeah, I think, if you have an agency or you have a business, you got to understand who you are, what your experience is, and leverage that, and what you're passionate about, what you care about. Um, when I first started this agency, I didn't actually know what my vertical was, or who I was going to target, or who I was going to work with, who my clients would be. I had to figure that out. But I reached a point where I realized I started to talk to agencies, and I realized the problems agencies have finding good web design agencies to work with, or developers. I started hearing a common problems with that. I outsourced and it sucked. And I'm like, okay, I got, an agile background, Scrum background. I have a background in design development, and I have a marketing background. All those things kind of in a creative background, and all those things kind of come together. I'm like, I think I can solve this for agencies. I think I can come in and help them extend their teams and do better, for them. Um, but a lot of that stems back all the way back to my 20 years ago, when I was doing internet marketing all those years and working with internet digital marketing agencies or companies. Um, and the people I've known and the people I talk to, and I feel like I, as a web design agency, my knowledge of marketing, whether that's SEO, pay per click, or how to network, or social media, that all sets me apart because I'm able to speak, right? I'm able to talk to a digital marketing agency and understand what they're saying,
Mhm.
and even lend ideas. Um, if they ask me, right? Like I have clients that are making decisions all the time about even how their own websites, and how they're trying to improve conversions or whatever. But I can lend that experience that I have. You said, I learned that 15 years ago. You shouldn't do that. That's going to cause a leak, and your conversions are going to, yeah. So for me, and that's why I also love business, and I love talking about business. I can talk about it all day long, and I have friends in business. We have great conversations. Um, but I also love that it keeps me in the game and listening to what other people are doing, and all that is important to me. It's good to be we have to be good at our craft. We have to be good at designers. We have to be good developers. That's our craft. That's my team. And I still dabble a little bit, get my hands dirty. Um, but I also want to be aware of, because what we're doing, what we're building, we're not just building websites and a pretty site. We're building something that's going to impact that business's, bottom line, and conversions and sales. And so I feel that's why I do the things I do. That's why I have the friends I have to talk about marketing, and kind of stay in that realm, even though I'm just building websites.
I love the answer. That's great, Matt. This has been a really good conversation. I'm sure that there's some folks out there who are like, tell me more. Where do I get to like talk to this guy? So for those folks and anybody else who maybe slightly less enthusiastic, but still eager to talk to you, where can they find you?
Well, they can find me. I'm obviously on social media. I have a presence on our big four, which is a little bit of Instagram, a little bit of Facebook, Twitter, but LinkedIn's our biggest
Mhm.
home. That's where we probably focus most of our efforts, and where somebody can just find me, message me there, follow me, whatever. Happy to talk to everybody. And but then of course, I have the builders.fm or the builders. You can just look that up for my podcast and listen to me there. I have solo and guest episodes. And then of course, if you do need help with web design or development, maintenance, if you're an agency that needs help, you can just go to unifiedwebdesign.com, and there's a link, there's a button right there, a call to action that will pop up, a little calendar, and then you just we can have a 15-minute chat about whatever. Maybe I can solve a problem in 15 minutes, or you can just say hi.
Love it. It's kind of like Geico, but for websites.
There you go.
So, Matt Levenhagen, thank you so very much. This has been a treat to have a chance to chat with you. For folks who are interested in learning more about your business, I encourage you to head over to unifiedwebdesign.com. We'll leave that link in the show notes as well. Matt, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me, David. It's been fun.
Indeed. Folks, if you know somebody who could benefit from listening to the conversation you just heard, please share this with them. Until next time, I'm David Baer, and this is More Perfect Marketing. Bye bye.